Welcome back in, everybody. Another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast on the 24/7 Sports Network. My name is Nathan King, joined here in the War Room by Jason Caldwell and Christian Clemente. It is NFL Draft Week, so here at Auburn Undercover, that means it is time for our annual roster draft. One of the more fun shows that we do all year. Always look forward to this one. We'll give a little golf clap for Christian for winning last year's draft. I went back and looked at the voting results, and Christian was a pretty decisive winner. So congratulations on that. We'll kind of run down the rules here. We've been doing this for a few years over, but if you haven't listened to it before, it's a snake draft style. So Christian gets number one overall for winning last year. I came in second place, so then it'll go to me, and then Jason will get 2 picks, and it'll snake back, and we'll just keep on going. The teams here, and now the goal is, of course, this will be at auburnundercover.com, and you guys can go vote Friday morning. The goal for us is to win your vote. So the goal for us is to assemble the best 12-person team that we can to try to win your vote over. The roster, if you will, so it's going to be 36 picks total. The roster is everybody has to have a quarterback, running back, 2 pass catchers, 2 offensive linemen. That's the offense. Then on defense, 2 defensive linemen, an edge rusher, a linebacker, and 2 defensive backs. And so there's a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of wiggle room with like edge guys and defensive backs, kind of just whatever you see fit. So should be a good time. And Christian, without further ado, we talked about this before we got going. Patrick Bingham, our illustrious intern, said that he's excited to get to work on this one. So we're recording here with a completely black background, but I imagine Patrick will add all the bells and whistles to this. So excited to see what that looks like on YouTube. But without further ado, Christian, you are on the clock for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, illustrious is one way to describe Patrick. I would probably go more so towards devious, evil, perhaps. But we'll see. Maybe he'll do a good job with this. Thought about this a good bit last night. Where to go? And Nathan, we even talked about it in the pre-show. I feel like there's a lot more talent to choose from in terms of kind of where you want to go. Last year, I think first pick I went Cam Coleman because I knew fan favorite, really talented guy, would be a great player for them. You don't need to jump on a receiver. You don't necessarily have to jump at a quarterback either. In a position where I think Auburn is lacking a ton of proven high-end talent is D-line or edge. So with the first pick, I'm going to take Keldrick. I don't know if I'm going to take him as a D-lineman or an edge. We'll see kind of how the board shakes out and whether or not I end up with an edge guy down the board or another D lineman or whatever. But I'm going to take Keldrick with the first overall pick. I think he's probably Auburn's top player. He has a very good chance to be a first-round pick this time next year after 3 years on the Plains.
Wow. I gotta say, it surprised me a little bit. I was set to take Keldrick right away, but your logic is very sound in that he is the best player on this team, I think, and you're going to get a lot of points with that. And as well, you bring up a good point, Christian. Like, there's no like whoever takes like Eric Singleton versus Cam Coleman, even like a Malcolm Simmons. Those guys there's not a ton of separation there, but you feel like Keldrick, it's like the drop off at D line or edge is really big. So falls to me now for the number 2 pick. I was between 2 guys, depending on what you were going to do. I'm going to go Jackson Arnold. I'm going to get the best quarterback. Like you said, Christian, I don't think, look, Jackson Arnold doesn't move the needle for you in like a massive way. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking that I've just won the draft because I got their starting quarterback. However, I feel like he is obviously a step above these other guys, but a little bit of interesting start there. I definitely agree with you. I was ready to take Keldrick, but I'm going to go with the quarterback. I'm going to get Jackson Arnold and go ahead and get him on board. Hopefully surround him with some decent pieces on offense, unless Jason takes all of them here with a couple back-to-back picks. So now we will go to Jason for 3rd and 4th overall.
Yeah, no, there was 1 or 2 ways for me to go here. If the door was open at quarterback, I'm going there. If not, I don't know right now how I would choose between Deuce Knight and Ashton Daniels. So I'm not going to. I'm going to go Cam Coleman at number 3. And I'm going to go Eric Singleton at number 4. So I'm getting both those guys right out of the gate. I'm like, yeah, that's the danger of being 3rd, but also the positive of having back-to-back picks. It's like I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and get both those guys. So that's what I'm going to do.
Man. All right. Well, our best receivers are gone, Christian. Jason is absolutely loading up. Yeah, I'm with you, Jason. I was like, if Christian had taken Jackson Arnold, I was not even gonna worry about quarterback until the very end, because like I don't see a massive difference between Ashton and Deuce Knight, at least from like a fan vote perspective. Like I didn't think either of them would move the needle too much. All right. So back to me now. I think I'm gonna go with Xavier Chaplin. I just think me and Jason talked about on the show yesterday, taking a future NFL draft pick, it seems like at offensive tackle, can get him to help out Mr. Jackson Arnold there. Maybe I'll regret it still not having one of the top defensive guys, but I'm going to go with Big X, as they call him. I think all of us are expecting him to have a really impactful season, so that'll move on to Christian.
Yeah, I had 3 guys I was looking at, and he was one of them. So you answered which 2 I'm going to take. I'm going to take Malcolm Simmons because I need to get a receiver. Look, there's still some more guys out there that we can get, but I need to get kind of one of those top 3 guys. So I'm going to go Malcolm Simmons, and then another position where Auburn maybe lacking a little bit more in terms of top high-end talent, linebacker. I'm going to take DeMarcus Riddick. I'm going to get him locked in on defense. Him and Keldrick feels like a strong pairing on that side.
I feel like I have to get a receiver because, well, I don't know. I'm looking here now. I mean, the top 3 guys are definitely off the board, and it's nice to have Jackson Arnold, but you want him to have people to throw to. Let me look here. I think I'm going to go with a guy that I think is a little bit underrated on this team on the defensive side of the ball, who I think is one of the best players on this team. I'm going to get Caleb Harris at safety. I think he's one of the best players on this team. I think he'll probably be the best player on my defense here. Selecting a little bit wary of what the offense will look like around Jackson Arnold and Xavier Chaplin, but with Keldrick and DeMarcus Riddick already off the board, I'm going to get Caleb Harris, who I think is a superstar in the making there on defense.
I like that pick a lot. So I get 2 again here. I'm going to go Connor Lew. I feel like that's a guy that you start to talk about building around. I feel like that's a guy that you build around on an offensive line and do those things. And so I'm going to go Connor Lew, and then I'm going to start my defensive side of the ball. I think there's a couple of places to go to, but I think I'm going to go with Jay Crawford. I think that would be one of my DBs there. So I'm going to go with Jay Crawford as my first DB pick. It probably was between for him and Caleb Harris for me as being that first DB off the board for me, but I'm going to go with Jay Crawford.
All right, at the risk of Christian's already got. I got to be a little forward thinking here. Christian's already taken a receiver, so I may stick around here and excuse me, keep looking on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to take Kay and Lee. I'm going to round out my secondary there with a couple guys who are near the top. Kay and Lee, I think, is absolutely has a lot of NFL traits for the future, but as me and Jason talked about on the draft show yesterday, like Auburn's draft prospects, Jay Crawford was just as good last year. So I think the difference between those 2 guys is pretty small. I think even though Jay Crawford was a true freshman, he showed a lot of stuff. But I'm going to take Kay and Lee there and round out my secondary with a couple of the best players there on defense.
Okay, we're now at the point where I don't have a full vision of really where I want to go with things.
The vision's gone.
Yeah, another team just took a pick and someone traded up, wasn't ready for it, and now we're panicking. I'm gonna go Malik Blockton on the D line. Still don't know if Keldrick is going to be a D line or an edge for me, but I've got one of my D linemen locked in for sure with Malik Blockton. I need to get an O lineman. I think I'll go Mason Murphy. I'll get him on the back-to-back.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Man, again, my question comes back to whether I should do anything here on offense. Let me think for just a second here. So my DBs are done. Still need a linebacker. Still need defensive line. Still need all those guys. My front 7 is very lacking. right now. So maybe before all those guys are gone, I'm gonna take Amaris Williams. I can flex him wherever, put him at edge, put him at defensive end. I feel like maybe he's set up to have a nice season, kind of in that second tier below guys like Keldrick, and we've seen what Malik Blockton brings to the table. So maybe under those guys, I'll take Amaris Williams, and like you said with Keldrick, Christian, just kind of see where he pans out here over the next few rounds.
I like it. So I get another double here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab Deuce Knight. I'm going to go ahead and grab quarterback here and get Deuce and go ahead and get that position. I think he's a guy that is going to play a role for this team at some point. We'll see what that is, but obviously extremely talented, and who knows, heck, may end up being a starter before the thing's over with. So I'm going to take Deuce here, and then I'm going to go Kieran Crawford. I'm going to go the edge, and I thought he had a good spring. I think that's a guy that is, I think, trending towards that second-year bump and jump that we've seen out of other positions. So I'm going to go Kieran Crawford at my edge spot right here to finish off my back-to-back.
I'm going to stick on the D-line and hope for a little bit of recency bias with the readers. I'm going to take Jay Hardy on the defensive line. I think as I look here, he was my next. Yeah, I had Keldrick, Malik Blockton, and then Jay Hardy was my next guy there. Still, it's crazy that he has been gone for so long from Auburn, and yet we still feel like there's potential. Like you still feel like maybe he still hasn't even played his best football. I know you knew this, Christian, from learning about him again when he came back, but like his 23 season was really, really good. And then he missed a lot of the 24 season with a knee injury. We'll be interested to see where he falls for this defensive line. I think he can kind of be a nose in certain situations. He's got the size for it. I'm gonna take Jay Hardy, who's a former high-end recruit, guy that knows this staff really, really well, and I think is in line for a decent season next year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the O-line here. I'm just gonna take the right side of the O-line. I'm gonna pair Mason Murphy with Jeremiah Wright. Get a leader on this team. Get a veteran guy who's been here a while. Add him to the roster. Lovable guy. Everyone's gonna love having him around. It's tough. Need to get a DB, but Nathan already has 2 and Jason has 1, so I don't have to have a DB quite yet. And there's still some guys out there. I'm gonna go. I don't know if he's gonna start the year as the starter because I think Bobby Travis is gonna start. But by the middle of the season, I think he'll be getting more of the snaps. I'm going to go Jordan Crawford. So that's going to bump Keldrick out to edge and then have Malik and Jordan Crawford as my 2 D linemen.
All right. I feel like I need to give my first round quarterback somebody to actually throw the ball to at this point, even though the top 3 guys are off the board. I'm racking my brain here for who I would. Maybe I won't overcomplicate things. I'm going to go with Horatio Fields. Perry Thompson. His ceiling is higher. Sam Turner is lightning in a bottle, but we just haven't seen him. We've only seen him in spring practices. I'm going to go with the guy who's got some Power 4 experience and put him in my receiving core. But it's such a drop off. I feel like from those top 3 receivers, but. Horatio had a good spring. He's the leader of this receiver room. We heard that from multiple guys. Really, really lovable. You talked about Jeremiah Wright. Auburn fans will really enjoy getting to know Horatio Fields. Really, really likable character on this team. And I'll put him as I guess the top receiver for Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, I like that pick. I do. I think it's a good one here. I'm going to go line of scrimmage, I think, again. I'm going to go Bobby Jameson Travis on the defensive line to pair up with Kieran Crawford. And then I'm going to go Dylan Wade to finish off my offensive line group there. So I have Dylan Wade, Connor Lew. So I'll go more the middle left side here and finish it off. And so I have a little bit more on the line of scrimmage to go, but I'm going to go Bobby and Dylan Wade right there for me and my back-to-back picks.
I'm going to take 2 seconds and evaluate everyone else's board. Let's see what we got going on here. So offensive line, you guys are all filled out, so I do not need to prioritize that. I'm going to double dip in the receiving core again because I feel like I have to. I can't let Perry Thompson fall here. I feel like I got to get Perry Thompson.
You could let him fall.
Sam Turner's really, really good. I don't even know if that's who your pass catcher would be, Christian, to pair with Malcolm Simmons. But yeah, I'm going to go with Perry. I just think the ceiling there for him is really, really high. If he starts to put things together, really just if any of these, I mean, beyond that main trio of receivers, like if any of these other guys are like pretty good, it just gets really scary. But obviously you got to protect Jackson Arnold. He's got to have a really good season. Or whoever is like Deuce Knight could easily be the quarterback. Ashton Daniels, we're not going to count him out. And so I'm going to take Perry there to round out my receiving core.
That's killer. Was really, really hoping to get Perry there.
Sam Turner's good. Take Brandon Brasher. You won't.
I mean, Sam Turner's great. Love Sam, and that's who I'm going to end up with. I'm not taking him right now, though. Obviously, I don't need to. I'm going to go to DB, though. This is tough. This is really tough. Because there's 3 guys that are still out there that are Champ Anthony, Rayon Strader, and New Boy are the 3 that I'm really looking at. I don't know what combo of those I want. I think Rayon Strader is going to be really good for this team, but I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to take Champ because of what we saw last year, the versatility out of him, what you can get out of him, the team leadership aspect as well, lovable guy. I'm going to take Champ, and I'm going to take New Boy because I'm going to say it right now, Jason. We've been stamping New Boy for a long time now.
Yep.
I think New Boy is going to lead Auburn in interceptions as a true freshman.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take him, and that's nothing against Rayon Strader. I mean, he's gonna get Jason still is missing a DB. That I'm sure that's who Jason will take, and he's great, and it's tough to pass up on him. But these are Champ for the versatility and New Boy just because huge believer in him and what he'll be for this team, not only this year but in the future.
Yeah, we were at a practice. So it was the Thursday before A-Day. And Anquan Fagans forced 3 turnovers in one practice session. He had 2 of them himself, and then he tipped one that went into Sylvester Smith, Tyler Scott, something like that.
I think it was T Love, yeah.
T Love pulled it down. Yeah, I mean, it's whether he's nickel or safety, I just feel like you're not going to be able to keep Anquan Fagans off the field as a freshman. Eric Winters had a really good spring too. Might see him in there. Looking at it here, so Christian's done with his D-line. I'm going to take somebody only because I'm scared of what Jason's defense will start to round into if he were to get this guy. I'm going to take Malik Autry as my other defensive lineman. I just think 5-star. He's huge. He's absolutely massive. I think the potential is there. Who else did I have on my D-line board here? I mean, Bobby Travis is gone. Honestly, that's all my guys gone here. I guess you could have gone James Ash there on the D-line as well. So I feel like that gives me with Autry, Jay Hardy, and Amaris Williams coming off the edge. I feel like that's a decent defensive line scrimmage. So I'm going to go with the 5-star freshman from right down the road, Opelika.
I like it. You know, that was, a couple of those picks were 2 of mine. I thought I was looking at New Boy really heavily, looking at Malik really heavily. And so I think I'm going to go here and go ahead and get my linebacker and go with Robert Woodyard, a guy that I thought had a really good spring. I think he's a guy that is going to play a huge role for this team. That's kind of that true middle linebacker for them. So I'm going to go Robert Woodyard here as that pick. And then I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit. Now I kind of have some options because you filled out your defensive line. You guys have filled out your DB group. And so I'm going to go Damari Alston as my number 1 running back. Was torn here. I think you have 3-4 choices here, but I think Damari's a guy that has kind of waited his time, and I think he's a guy that's going to have a really good year. So I'm going to go ahead and get Damari Alston here.
And because of that, I'm going to take Jeremiah Cobb Because now it looks like, well, I was thinking as soon as Jason said Robert Woodyard, I was like, all right, well, I'll take Caleb Wheatland, but I'm glad I didn't do that because Christian already has his linebacker, and that would not have made much sense. You got to think of it. You got to think ahead just a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to take Jeremiah Cobb. Maybe that helps my case of having probably the weaker group of receivers of the three of us. Maybe that helps a little bit to have the pass catching running back. This is probably really different. I didn't look at last year, but I imagine Jarquez went off the board for us like really fast. And then now we're waiting until like the 9th, 10th round, whatever you want to call it, to take a running back. So just goes to show how important it's going to be for this team to run the ball next year. They don't have a guy like Jarquez. But I'm going to take Jeremiah Cobb off the board and put him in my backfield.
Yeah, so all I have left is quarterback, running back, pass catcher, and both you guys have rounded out those groups already. So I've pretty much completed my draft in terms of I can get who's remaining. Quarterback, obviously, I'm going to take Ashton Daniels. The interesting thing about this, and I've kind of talked about this with Cole from On 3 a little bit, just in talking with him at practices and whatnot. But Ashton is the quarterback that Auburn knows the most about at this point. Even after, Deuce and Jackson just went through spring practice, I mean, Ashton is the most proven, most experienced, most starting time at Stanford. And he's a guy that they believe in a lot. Look, the numbers aren't fantastic at Stanford, but it's Stanford, and he was playing from behind a lot, chucking it downfield, losing by 3 touchdowns, trying to get big plays. He's a guy that they believe in. They feel like he can come in and look, he's not coming in to be the backup. He's coming in to compete for that starting job, even if he wasn't here for spring practice. And so while I fully expect Jackson Arnold to be the starter, I think Ashton Daniels can make things interesting. So I'll take him, and then I'll go ahead and take Darrell Robinson as my running back as well. Really like Darrell. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, you guys just touched on it with the running backs. It feels like a true running back by committee approach, and maybe ride the hot hand a little bit, ride whoever's healthier at that point in the season, whatever. Little bit different play styles as well. Darrell, a big physical back. I mean, he's a big dude. I think we mistook him for one of the linebackers when he was walking through the facility. So he's interesting. I'm really, really excited to see him. Obviously, he didn't go through spring practice dealing with that foot injury that got cleaned up after the season. So really excited to see what he can be for this team.
Yeah, he's like 6'1", 215, 220. Something like that. What stuck out to me when they got him, looking at some of his numbers, he had one of the best breakaway run rates in college football, like up there with Jarquez Hunter. And yet he's a guy who has the size of a linebacker. And so I think Hugh Freeze said it at one press conference. He was like, just sort of a tone of disappointment, like, man, was really looking forward to seeing what he looked like on the field. I think they feel like they can do a lot of different things with him. Yeah, I'm at the point too. I don't know if all of us are at that now, where it's all of our spots are solo. We don't have to compete for anybody. I'm gonna go ahead and take Caleb Wheatland at linebacker. It was neck and neck for me with him and Robert Woodyard. Wheatland has a lot more production in his career, but Robert Woodyard's a guy that's been here, a guy that just had a great spring, and so I think that's a really, really good pick there for Jason. But Wheatland is a guy we talked about just a few shows ago, the transfer portal show, of like, it's been tough to find a standout linebacker in the portal. It's been tough for one to even go in this spring. As Christian brought up on that show, like, has there been a standout one? I mean, like a true superstar? There hasn't been many. And I think Auburn did a really, really good job of seeing Wheatland in the portal, seeing a guy who's that middle linebacker to maybe pair with DeMarcus Riddick, a guy with a lot of production in his career, 42 tackles and 4 sacks last season. And so guy who's pretty quick, has a lot of experience coming over from the Power 4 level. So I'm going to go with Caleb Wheatland as my linebacker.
Yeah, a couple last 2 picks here, and I have lots of options. I do think on the defensive line, I'm going to go with James Ash. I like the maybe potential big playability for him. He definitely looks the part. I mean, this guy looks like a guy that's going to come in and hit the ground running. And so I'm going to go with James Ash there. Again, a couple of freshmen that we thought were going to be more of an impact guys are already off the board, and Bobby and Blocked and those guys. And so I'm going to go with Ash. They brought him into play. And so I think I'm going to go with him at that spot. Now, the DB spot, there literally are 6 or 7 guys that I feel like you could go with right here and not go wrong. You mentioned Rayon Strader. I think Bobby Woodby. I think Blake Woodby's a guy that's going to play, and I think he could be involved in this. Then you look at the back end, like Sylvester Smith's a guy that started games. He's been back there. Eric Winters had a really good spring. And I think he's a guy that's going to be involved. For some reason, though, I keep coming back to one guy. I keep coming back to a guy that I think is going to play a much bigger role. We saw him involved last year. But I'm going to go with Kinsley Faustin. I think Kinsley's a guy that has a unique skill set because he can play safety, he can play nickel, he can do some different things. And I think we'll see them kind of rotate. We saw Caleb Harris playing some nickel. I think Kinsley Faustin's skill set is going to make him a guy that's going to play a bigger role this season. So I'm going to go with Kinsley Faustin as my last DB.
So I took the first O-lineman and Xavier Chaplin, and now I have to go on the bench here for my last guy because all of the other projected starters are off the board. Couple different avenues I could go. So my Mr. Irrelevant, I'm going to go with DeAndre Carter. I feel like if Xavier Chaplin is my pass pro left tackle, super, experienced NFL talent type guy, I'm just going to go with the monster of a guard who still has a lot of room to grow, only a sophomore. But we heard it this spring from Hugh Freeze, got some first team reps. I don't see him filling into a starting job this year, but we heard that last year there were those couple weeks where Jeremiah Wright was dinged up. I don't think it caused him to miss any time, but he was just held out of practice for a while. DeAndre Carter was taking first team reps there at right guard. It's only a matter of time. He is an absolute mountain of a player, just absolutely massive. And so DeAndre Carter there on the interior for my O-line, plenty of size. Malik Autry, plenty of size there for my and Jay Hardy for my defensive line on the other side. And so I will round out my picks with a guy who I think we all expect to be a really, really good player for them in the future.
Yeah, last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, Sam Turner. He's not going to be Mr. Irrelevant this season, though, and I think everyone found that out really quickly this spring. Look, he was a guy, Auburn had to fight Georgia Tech. It was a difficult battle. Georgia Tech did not let him go easily, and Auburn not only robbed Georgia Tech of Sam Turner, but then Eric Singleton in the portal as well.
Yes.
And twice on the baseball diamond this spring as well. So tough year for Georgia Tech against Auburn.
Yes.
But Sam Turner has proven quickly why this staff, look, he was not ranked super highly, but this staff loved him. This staff felt like he was a guy who could contribute quickly. And they loved Derek Smith as well, but he was always going to be more of the project a little bit, an athlete that's kind of finding his footing. And Sam Turner was a guy that they believed could come in and rotate with these guys. The freeze four, adding Horatio Fields and whatnot. They felt like he could come in and rotate, and he quickly proved that this spring. Look, the guy lives at Wolto's. I mean, he is there all day, every day. He is there a ton. And so he'll be my last pick there at receiver to round things out.
Well, there we have it. Another roster draft in the books. Under 30 minutes. That might be a new record for us. I think we're getting pretty efficient.
Wait until Patrick adds a bunch of effects and draft noises and whatnot, and adds 10 minutes to the show.
You get at the doom or whatever it is.
So he said he was going to do that. The problem is we just picked 36 players, and so we'll see how that goes. I guess for editing, Patrick, I guess if they when we double up, you only have
you can
one of those.
Just one for the double ups. That's right.
Yeah, so that won't be too bad. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody for listening. A fun exercise as always.
Should we read off each team?
We should do that, Christian. Yeah, let me go look here. So Team Christian, who had the first pick, Ashton Daniels at quarterback. His running back is Darrell Robinson. It's only one R, Christian, by the way.
That's fine too. I did that last year with Connor Liu. Look, I'm more focused on the.
What did you do for Connor Liu?
I think Connor, I put an E in last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fair.
Look, once they're not a recruit, I don't have to worry about the spelling.
That's honestly fair. Your two pass catchers, Malcolm Simmons and Sam Turner. Your two offensive linemen, Mason Murphy and Jeremiah Wright. D lineman, Big Jordan Crawford and Big Malik Blockton. Keldrick Falk sliding there to your edge spot. Oof, yeah, looking now at your Keldrick Falk and DeMarcus Riddick in your front seven is pretty nasty.
Pretty good, yes.
And then your two DBs being the veteran champ and the rookie new boy Fagans. My team, Jackson Arnold at quarterback, Jeremiah Cobb at running back. My two pass catchers, Horatio Fields and Perry Thompson. Two offensive linemen, Xavier Chaplin and DeAndre Carter. Two defensive linemen, Jay Hardy, Malik Autry. My edge is Amaris Williams. Linebacker, Caleb Wheatland. Two DBs are Caleb Harris, the safety, and Kayan Lee, the corner. And then Jason, the true freshman quarterback, Deuce Knight. Damari Alston, the senior running back. Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, who he grabbed up as fast as he possibly could there at wide receiver. Connor Liu and Dylan Wade on the O-line. Bobby Jameson Travis and James Ash on the D-line. Kieron Crawford, the veteran edge rusher there. Robert Woodyard as his linebacker. And then cornerback, Jay Crawford, and safety, nickel, whatever you want him to play, Kinsley Faustin, who played some corner last year against literally Georgia on the road. So he's already got some experience under his belt. So
I feel like Jason's combo of Cam and Eric and Deuce is going to catch a lot of eyes, and
I think that's
tough to beat.
I think that's a buzzworthy trio right there at the top.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a look. I need everyone that's listening, everyone looking to do a full deep dive of the roster.
I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Really think things through. Don't just get caught up in the skill. Really look at the full team here. Don't fall for the flashy skill guys.
Don't fall for the insanely talented wide receivers, you fool. You're sure not to look at those guys. Yeah, I think our teams are all really different, all really well rounded.
Look, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, sorry to cut you off, but like the thing you get from doing this year after year is you can see the talent improving from top to bottom in terms of the overall depth chart, and not just fighting for one guy here, for a guy there.
No,
all of a sudden it's you can wait a little bit because you can still get another DB or another receiver and feel pretty good about it.
No question about it. That's why you're sitting there thinking, I'm like, I brought up 5 or 6 DBs. I'm like, I would have felt good with 4 or 5 more of those guys. I think that's the beauty of roster building, because Nathan, you mentioned it, like we didn't even pick Too Tall, who started all season last year and will be your third offensive tackle and may play a good bit on this team. That's the difference now for this roster, is that you have guys. Tyler Johnson's a guy that we might have picked last year in this draft. I'm not sure if we did. We may have. Now that's a good spot to be in. Much more talented roster.
The difference a couple years makes. Here is our 2023 draft. Here were our top 10 picks: Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, Jarquez Hunter, Jalen McLeod, Shane Hooks, Rivaldo Fairweather, Dylan Wade, Jalen Simpson, Marcus Harris, Gunnar Britton. There's some good names there. Also some names that just talent level just don't stack up at all. The top group for us here was just like, a lot of, like we were talking about on the draft show yesterday, Jason, just a lot of talent, a lot of NFL talent.
Yeah, and I think you look at the group we just picked from our draft, and you start going, those are people that will be picked in the NFL draft. That's going to happen, and we won't be very busy with the NFL draft this year. There's a couple of guys that'll probably hear their name called. We'll be much busier the next few years and moving forward with the way they've recruited and the way they've added from the portal as well.
Yep. Fun exercise as always, guys. Fun exercise to look back at from the last couple of years. Last year's was interesting. So head over to auburnundercover.com as you are listening or listening to this or watching this. We will have a story up over there, full rundown of the teams, and then at the bottom of that story, you guys can vote on who had the best team. And so Christian will probably be on the message board thread attempting to convince you, like he always does. Don't listen to him. Patrick will probably be convincing you to pick Christian's team just because he's trying to make some amends. So don't listen to that.
There's no making amends. Patrick is blocked on Twitter still, and he won't be unblocked until Auburn gets a Kava.
Yeah. Until they what?
Until Auburn gets its Kava.
I was gonna say, if you know, but that's. Oh, I meant to tell you, Christian. I'll tell you this right now as we're still recording. I was going to a wedding that night, and one of my friends from out of town, they were eating at Botanic that afternoon, and she goes, "Nathan, is is Auburn getting a kava? And I was like, no, where did you hear this? And she goes, I overheard the table next to us at Botanic. This girl was like, oh my gosh, Mom, I saw Auburn's getting a kava today.
Patrick created a monster.
Yes, he did, because we had people on Auburn staff that had sent the message to their wives that, hey, we're getting a kava, and how excited they were. And then they had to send a message back going, oh, never mind. It wasn't true. Yes, Patrick did create an evil monster.
All right, Patrick. Well, you've been called evil by both Christian and Jason in this show. So good work, buddy. Well, we appreciate everybody for listening. Again, head over to auburnundercover.com. You can vote on the teams, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. And we will talk to you guys later this week or early next week back on the podcast.
Vote for me.